وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل بيت محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين والعاقبة للمتقين. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا سيدتي يا زهراء. السلام على الإمامين الحسن والحسين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. والصلاة والسلام على النبي الهاشمي المدني الأبطحي السيد البهي السراج المضيء الكوكب الدري صاحب الوقار والسكينة ذاك المدفون بالمدينة العبد المؤيد الرسول المسجد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المطهرين المصطفين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين الإمام الحجة المنتظر مهدي هذه الأمة سلام الله تعالى عليه. The Almighty Allah says in the Holy Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض أإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ وَيَجْعَلُكُمْ خُلَفَاءَ الْأَرْضِ أَإِلَٰهٌ مَّعَ اللَّهِ قَلِيلًا مَّا تَذَكَّرُونَ أَإِلَٰهٌ مَّعَ اللَّهِ قَلِيلًا مَّا تَذَكَّرُونَ أَإِلَٰهٌ مَّعَ اللَّهِ قَلِيلًا مَّا تَذَكَّرُونَ صدق الله العلي العظيم Dear respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I thank you for coming tonight as we try to put all the efforts to revive the words of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam as part of us professing, as part of us committing ourselves, showing our love to Ahlul Bayt salamullahi ta'ala alayhim. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, he says, أَلَا وَمَنْ مَاتَ عَلَى حُبِّ آلِ مُحَمَّدٍ بَشَّرَهُ مَلَكُ الْمَوْتِ بِالْجَنَّةِ. It is for those who die on the love of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, the angels of death would come and give them the glad tidings of the heavens. ألا ومن مات على حب آل محمد يزف إلى الجنة كما تزف العروس إلى بيت زوجها. Whoever dies on the love of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad will be carried to the heavens like a new bride carried to her new house. ألا ومن مات على حب آل محمد فتح له من قبره بابان إلى الجنة. Whoever dies on the love of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, two gates are open for him into heaven from his own grave. ألا ومن مات على حب آل محمد جعل الله قبره مزار ملائكة الرحمة. Whoever dies in the love of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, Allah will make his grave a place of visitations for the angels of mercy. ألا ومن مات على حب محمد وآل محمد مات على السنة والجماعة. Whoever dies and whoever leaves and departs on the love of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, it truly departed on what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has commanded. Dear brothers and sisters, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Man ahabbana lillah," whoever loves us for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, أسكنه الله في ظل ظليل يوم القيامة. Allah will put him in a shadow place, overseen in the day of judgment. يوم لا ظل إلا ظله. On a time, on the day of judgment, it is only him that casts the shadows on people. وَمَنْ أَحَبَّنَا يُرِيدُ مُكَافَأَتَنَا كافأه الله عنا الجنة. And whoever loves us and seeks our reward, Allah will reward him on our behalf by delivering him to heaven. We look at these glad tidings that Allah Azza wa Jal will give us regarding the love of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, and we ask, the love of these individuals, how could it truly summon up the purpose of our lives? Because when we look at the reason we're living, at the end of the day, we're trying to attain a form of perfection. Some call it happiness, some call it to be joyful, some to understand life. It all is summoned up with it trying to attain that perfection of the self. You might call it give it different names, but in reality, this is when the nafs feels that it attained this highest level of fulfillment. And when I say the nafs, because the nafs, as it ends its cycle within this world, it goes back as it transitions to the next life, and it goes into the state of the ruh. And not to get this discussion, what is the difference between a nafs and the ruh, and what takes what stage, and how do they start, and how do they last, because it's a very detailed discussion in the Holy Quran. But we find out, dear brothers and sisters, as we live life, we are made of a group of faculties that Allah Azza wa Jal given to us. For example, desire, love, want, need, anger. These desires that we have, they're just desires. They in themselves have no regulations. Imagine yourself having a chainsaw, an electrical chainsaw. When you turn it on, what happens to it? It just starts what? The cutting. If you leave it alone, just start it and leave it alone, what happens? Whatever it finds on the way, it cuts. Right or wrong? It's just gone on itself. It started. It does not regulate itself. It is made to cut. In order for us to utilize it appropriately, two hands would hold it and grab it from where it's supposed to be grabbed, and then we cut things appropriately. When we're done, we stop it. The chainsaw without that control mechanism can be very hurtful. It is not regulated. It is not guided. It just goes and does what it's made to do. Cut. That's it. Our desires, dear brothers and sisters, are made to be fulfilled. They are created in order to be fulfilled. So without, in themselves, independent, they'll never say enough. If I look at one of the faculties, one of the desires, the desire keeps on wanting more and more and more and more. That is in itself, it is made to want more and more. But we have one faculty that Allah Azza wa Jal given us, that's the intellect. To do what? To regulate, to balance between everything that Allah Azza wa Jal given us in order to serve one thing. To reach that level of balance, which is the means in order for us to attain perfection. Some of us wonder, how can we be happy? Some of us try through their daily lives to really build themselves up, become better people. The question is, how do I become a better person? How can I build myself? How can I build the I in me? The I is essential because after all, we live and die, and I am responsible mainly for that I. What do? When I go to school, When I go, why do I go for 12 years? I don't know here, I think there's an A level and O level, I don't know these different things, but at the end of the day, they add up maybe 12 years, right? Plus or minus. You know, us Americans like everything very quickly, so the more we can condense it, the better it is. But let's say 12 years. Why do I put my children into 12 years? The reason, in reality, is to give them the education so their mind, we believe, or today's science believes that at the age of 18, that the human mind reached a level of maturity. By the way, it doesn't go hand in hand with what Islam says. Islam says maturity happens way before. And that's why if you look at our scholars, most of our very renowned scholars, Al-Allama al-Hilli, Al-Muhaqqiq al-Hilli, Al-Shaykh al-Mufid, Halab al-Huda, and all these great scholars, they reached and they were extremely knowledgeable, not when they arrived, when they became 20 or 30 or 80. No, it was at the age of 14. You can see that they have matured and they were attending some of the advanced classes at a very young age. To them, at the time, they didn't consider this like, wow, my God, how did this happen? No, it was very natural because they started gaining knowledge at a younger age. If you notice, today, what do we do with our children? In a few past lectures, I talked about the way we deal with our children. Some of us, not all of us, some of us become very authoritative with our children. The way we feed our children is do and don't. We don't have them work their minds, but they work their memory. So they become what? Robots. We put this list of commands. If this happens, you do this. If this, you do this. And we shut down the mechanism of why. Don't be creative. How many of us actually promote the arts when it comes to learning with our children? Yet the art, if you realize it or not, is one of the main mechanisms to unleash the creativity in the human mind. But no, we try to define learning in a set of rules, and this is what you have to do. Once the child veers a little bit away from what he is supposed to do, that's wrong. Yet if you see all the geniuses of the world, they were extremely creative at a young age. Why? Their parents allowed them to think outside of the box and become creative. One other issue that I've seen, we ask ourselves, what is, as parents, I want you to examine this. Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to build up for is building the best I that can be built. If you build the best I that can be built, you're building the best community that can be built. Because a community starts with the I, with each individual. How can you build the best I? Let me ask you. Let's be very, very honest and truthful, especially those who have children, those who are raising children, those who are in the process of having children. We need to understand this. The institution of the family, when we build it, it's built for a purpose. The purpose is what? Is to raise a very perfect I, and anything that can help to perfect that I. Yet, it's truly true. When I teach my child, where does the role of religion play in the raising of my child? See, the first thing we try to build in our children, education. And how do we define education? We define education by how can he or she get the best school, gets the best secular education, gets the best what? Become best in math, in science, in literature, in all of these things. Yet if we examine the Holy Quran, إِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ. Luqman sat down with his child. Here the Quran doesn't leave anything unanswered. All we ought to do is knock at the door of the Quran and ask him to feed us. Quran teaches us this Luqman When Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam was asked, was Luqman a prophet? Was he a prophet, a messenger of God? What was he? He said he was Abdul Salih, a righteous servant. Abad Allah wa akhlasa ilayh. He worshipped Allah and he was sincere towards Allah. Allah Azza wa Jal in return gave him wisdom. But amongst the billions who lived across time, Allah chose to pick the story of Luqman. Why? Look at the depth in the story of Luqman. إِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ. What did Luqman tell his child when he was giving him an advice? Did he tell him how to study science? Did he tell him how to gain wealth? What did he teach him? What was that important principle that Luqman taught his child, and Allah chose it out of everything that Luqman did and others did to point it in the Holy Quran? Ya bunay la tushrik billah. Inna shirka la azim. Son, do not associate with Allah Azza wa Jal. Why? Because here, Luqman alayhi salam is pointing to us, no matter what time we're at, whether we are at whatever timeline we are living in, there is one thing about this human self of ours. It is built in a way, and Allah Azza wa Jal is teaching us in a way that matches the build-up and the DNA of how this human self can grow to perfection. Let me emphasize on this. Whatever is taught in the Holy Quran is made to best suit the wiring of that intellect and that self of ours. Once we find that and realize that compatibility, not discover it, realize it because it's there. It's the realization that triggers that process. If you do not commit yourself to it, it will not take effect. La tushrik billah. That is why, what do we see here? We see that building the principle of the oneness of Allah Azza wa Jal is essential to raising a child. That is the number one thing. Before anything else, before the sciences, before the other education, it is the building of that mind with the principle of Tawheed. Unfortunately, dear brothers and sisters, what do we see today? We see sometimes the way we look at our communities as individuals, we see that, for example, I do my part at the house. Then I seek the Islamic center or the Islamic mosque to do what? To raise my child on what? When it comes to issues of religion and Islam. So I do my role here at the house, and then I expect the Islamic center, and what do? I expect Maulana to teach my children the what? Islam and the details of Islam. And I expect the school to complement this. And I expect everything in the community to complement this. First of all, the Maulana, the scholar, is not the one that brought the children into the world, so he can be responsible for them. The center is not the place, the committee of the center, the board of the center is not the ones who brought the children in this world to be responsible. If Tawheed and religion is so important in our lives, it means it is the smallest unit that becomes responsible for it. And that is whom? The father and the mother. If the father and the mother, and let me emphasize on this, what you put in is what you get out. It is not rocket science. The more you put in with your children the time to refine them, to enhance them with these principles of Tawheed, of Adala, of Nubuwwah, of Imamah, of Akhirah, the more the outcome will be shaped according to the input. It's a mathematical model. F of x equals, and there's the equation. Whatever you put in x, the f of x will come out. If you put time and effort, you will come out. How much time do we put with our children? We put 8 hours of sleep to rest, 8 hours of work, and what is left for us? 8 hours. What do we do with these 8 hours? We need to entertain ourselves 1 hour. We need to feed ourselves 1 hour. What is left? 6 hours. What do we do with the 6 hours? We need to develop ourselves 1 hour. We need to socialize another hour. What is left? 4 hours. What is left to our children? Oh, this is where we realize what we do and how we raising our children, it starts before we actually bring them to life. When does it start? It starts when we pick our spouses. When I am not home, what will my spouse be doing? When I'm not home, will she be raising my child and putting these hours into effect? So when I'm home, I can help her? Yes, I can help her. See, my duty, just because I'm a man, it doesn't mean, by the way, just so you know, raising the children is the responsibility of the father. It's when the mother starts raising the child, she's doing that because she's the mother out of her goodwill. Responsibility from the jurisprudence and Islamic perspective, it is the responsibility of the father. Don't run away from the responsibility. Don't dump everything on the woman. She has to do everything. Some of us, the way, and I'm sure no one here, but some of us, the way they deal with the woman, it's amazing. It amazes me. We counsel a lot of people. We sit down with a lot of people that need counseling, whether at marriage level, whether the youth counseling, and I see some issues that really boggle my mind. You know what is the roots of all of this? Ignorance. The wife and the husband do not understand Islam. We say we're Muslims, we don't study these principles. We're not raised on these principles. When the family works together and the child gets enough attention, let me emphasize, you know, most of these individuals that are born and become creative and amazing and they're the geniuses that change the world, look at their upbringing. You know, you have to, sometimes the father and the mother did nothing. Actually, they completely let go of their children. They became orphans maybe. But there's always this person who took the role of the father and the mother in this child's life. And our children, dear brothers and sisters, their minds are open. If we don't fill them up, someone else will. If we do not take the initiative and fill up this mind of the child, someone else did. Some of us will say, oh, you know, I'm not married, I don't have children, I'm not responsible. Actually, no, you are responsible. When you see right now, see all of us here, different ages. We see different ages. How do we feel about our responsibilities towards each other? Is your friend's children close to you or not? Oh, I have nothing to do with them. Why? They decided to get the children, is their problem. No. In Islam, there is no such thing. I will be part of the growing and the maturing of this child. I'll be a good role model for him. In the capacity I can. I'm not going to push myself, force myself on him. But you know, when the children are sitting here today, when they look at you, they're learning from what you do, from your behavior, how you behave, how you smile back, how you talk to one another, how you yell, how you scream, how you hug, how you talk. You're teaching them. That's why we have to be careful what we do wherever we're at. Why? Because the youth, the youngsters, these young men and women are learning from us. And one move, one thing we do sometimes can have a lasting effect on this child. you will be amazed how young men and women are affected. One thing you do, can last a lifetime with the children. So on the day of judgment, when you're standing before Allah and suddenly the gates of hell are open to you. What did I do? Remember when you were standing and you were talking and saying this and that, there was a child standing by listening to you. And without you realizing, because you were not attentive, while you should not be speaking in public like that, he learned something bad from you. He went and repeated that bad thing at home, and he got used to it, and now it became a habit, and he lived and died on that bad habit, so you became part of what? His wrong doctrine here. That's why the Quran, that's why Hadith, the narrative of Ahlul Bayt tells you to watch what you say, where you say it, how you say it. Well, you gotta be very careful. Listen, you are responsible for everything you do. Short term and long term. Some of us, the verse that we started with, أَمَّا يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ. He who hears the cry of the anguished whom he calls him. وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوء, and relieves the suffering. Who is this anguished? Are we ever in that state of being anguished? We said yesterday, Allama Tabarakallah, he said, he is the person, the man, when he reaches that level where he finds there is no one that can assist him, and he directs himself to Allah Azza wa Jalla. But we learn also, in order to direct ourselves to Allah Azza wa Jal, we ought to have the means to direct ourselves. Because no matter what you do, when you direct yourself to Allah, you're using some form of means to say, Ya Allah. Even the thought is a mean. So what is better than to use Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and specifically the 12th holy Imam alayhi salam, as a mean to Allah Azza wa Jal. نحن أبواب الله التي منه يؤتى. We are the gates to Allah through which you go to Him. Some of you say, why? You might ask, why? See, when we think of the Imam alayhi salam as we're directing ourselves to Allah Azza wa Jal, in this thought process, I'm putting what here? I'm training my mind. If I think of the Imam, I don't know the Imam, I just see, some of us know the Imam as an Imam. What about the Imam? We don't know. That's a problem. But when we understand Imamah, we start understanding perfection. And every time I start thinking of Allah, I bring the Imam alayhi salam to mind. I understand perfection. I understand everything that I'm going through in this life is for the purpose of what? Perfecting me. And Allah Azza wa Jalla, He puts a rule in the Holy Quran. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah will not ask you what you cannot handle. What does it mean? It means Allah will never put you in a situation that you cannot handle. Which means what? Whatever I'm in, I can handle it. Then what? It means I can handle it. He put me there in order for me to become better. Why? Because to become more perfect. And that's where I become connected to the Imam. For the Imamah, for the Imam of the time, becomes the means for my perfection. I look at everything that is going through. I look at everything that is happening. I look at what the Imam alayhi salam. You think the Imam alayhi salam right now is relaxed and comfortable? Don't you realize that he aches and in pain for every wrong thing that is happening to every Muslim alive? He is continuously worried about them. Why? Because there are people connected to him. Their connection to him, when I care, imagine you become responsible. Let's go back to look at your children. Let me tell you, when your child is in pain, I am told that you can never understand it unless you have your own child. When your son or daughter in pain, you become in pain also. You ache for them. You can't stand seeing them in this pain. Why? Because there's this connection, this love between you and them, right or wrong? Parents, you tell me, right or wrong?
Right.
The rest are like, I don't know. Well, let me tell you. This is a relationship between what? A son and daughter and a father and mother. There is a higher form of love mentioned in the Quran called al-mawaddah. This mawaddah, why do we love Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam? You find when you say Hussein, sometimes you don't know why, you just cry. This mawaddah. Sometimes you say Ali, you become joyful. Why? I don't know. Ali, I love him. Why? This is mawaddah. But there is a reason why. Because, see, listen to me very carefully. Please listen to this point. Some of us live and die and never read a book about Ali or Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But you know what happens? We feel these feelings. Why? Because we are inheriting something that our parents and grandparents lived and felt and passed on to us. It becomes part of who you are. The more you get to know, the more you can pass on. Look at it as 3 layers. Thoughts, feelings, behavior. Thoughts, feelings, behavior. Any behavior is based on a feeling. Any feeling is based on a thought. Some of us inherit behavior because why? We have some feelings towards Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, we inherited because of some thoughts. Subhanallah, little thinking about Ahlul Bayt, it creates so much emotion and creates so much what? The behavior that you see. Imagine if you strengthen the intellectual, the thinking part, how much more feelings and how much more changed behavior you would have. Now you realize, before you bring your children, that you can either increase this for your children or keep it and then it will decrease. Why? This, if you don't, the soul is like a land. If you don't keep on giving it water, it'll dry up at the end. Do you want to be the dry land that passes on to your children or the one that is blossoming with roses and flowers? What do you want to be? You make a choice on this. This is how, now when we teach our children, it becomes important that we feed them the knowledge, that we give them the knowledge, we give them the ideas, build their love on ideas. This is the love the companions of Imam Hussein had with him in the Battle of Karbala. Muslim ibn Awsaja, or Zuhair, I don't remember which one said, on the night of the 10th, he said, Wallah, the narrative says, when you go through and listen to it, it's not like people who tomorrow they're going to be facing death. No, they were talking, they were so lively. Why? Muslim says, Wallah, if I knew this would happen to me 1,000 times, I would do it again and again and again, because it would please Imam Hussein. Why? Why do I love a person to that level? You know why? Because I understand the principle of Tawheed is through this person. He defines to me the relationship between me and the absolute and infinite is through this man. This man doesn't become only a man. He is a principle. And when I raise my children to be principled, this is when I know. I don't care what I leave them, what I do with them. You know why? I planted in them, in their hearts, Ya bunayya la tushrik billah. Inna shirka la dhulmun adhim. When I understand what does it mean to associate with Allah, and what does it mean to believe in the oneness of Allah Azza wa Jal, I realize my child will always be connected to whom? To Allah through his imam. So I don't need to be with him all the time, worried, do and don't, because the kid will realize, if my father is not around me, my imam sees me. Allah Azza wa Jal has the angels looking at me. And it becomes a self-discipline process. This is how we raise our children. It is our responsibility. It is our priority. The more you put in, the more you'll get out. The more you try to feed your children, believe me, it's a priority before anything else. That is why when we seek, one of the applications of al-muttar is the father and the mother. Those who are in distress. Some of us go through some very harsh times with our children. And we wonder, why is Allah putting us through this? Why? Listen, let me tell you one thing. Look at yourself, and Allah Azza wa Jal works in magical ways. It's amazing. Whatever you're going through, sometimes we're faced with individuals and ask, oh my God, why did Allah make me deal with this person or that person? Sometimes the only way Allah Azza wa Jal sees that you learn is when you are reflected through someone else. What do I mean by that? What you do is someone else doing to you. What you do to others is someone else now inflicting it on you. And you know what's the worst part? When that someone else is your own children. Why? This is when you have to stop a second and say, did I do this to my father and mother? Did I do this to my people? Did I do this to the ones who love me the most? The beauty of this is what, once you realize it, Allah changes things for you. But you need to truly realize it. Allah is not in the business of let me punish this person. No. Understand this philosophy of this universe. Everything that we're living is for you to change your behavior, to better yourself. Once you learn, now what? You have a different test, a different challenge. You're done with the first one. So here's the thing. Some of us always ask, my God, I keep on going through this. Allah keeps on giving me this. You know why? You're telling me that you're always failing. You're not learning. Honestly, it's as simple as that. You're not learning the lesson. Take my word and try it. Learn and change. You'll see that things change in your life. Most people become complacent in their lives. They don't want to change. They're used to it. They're comfortable. This is how they've been for years. They worry about the word change. No, I don't want to try new things. I don't want to take a new road. Well, this might be a shortcut. It saves you time. It saves you. No, I'm used to going through this. I don't know what's going down this road. Why? If you don't explore, you'll never find out. In Islam, the beauty of the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam and the Quran is how they bring everything together for you, dear brothers and sisters. Everything. And it's all about what? The eye.